Bring the City Council Water Rate Study Work Session to order on Wednesday, October 11th, 2023 at 6:08 p.m. May I get a roll call, please?
Corrigan here.
Achari here. Potter here. Adine is excused. And Councilor Askey?
Askey here.
I heard you, thank you. So just a tidbit of information, we don't have video, but we do have audio. So if you are online, your computer's okay, it's us, we have no video, but we are providing audio. And we can see if you raise your hand and need to say something, but that would only really apply to Councilor Askey. We are accepting no comments from the public at this time. This is a work session for the council to discuss and process all of the information we've received from the OAWU, from the public during public hearings, from the public during public comment, from the public sending into the city their thoughts and their opinions and their wishes for what they would like to see for the water study. So no public comment at this time, no public input or part of the conversation at this time. However, the council has agreed to include the Water Advisory Committee into the discussions and allow them to provide comments and discussion appropriately throughout the work session. So at this time, we'll go ahead and get started. Review of the options presented, water rate study suggested pros and cons, and alternate single tier option pros and cons. Where do we have that information? That's just for discussion, there's no.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, thank you. I've got it, okay. So council, we've done a lot of reading, a lot of studying, a lot of information taking in, and it's all been kind of gobbledygook, per se. I know this is formal term, right?
Yeah.
Gobbledygook, a water term. So kind of outlining what we're working with and what our options are would be very helpful to me to kind of put an outline to it. There was something presented, is this?
Water rate study summary.
Is that the summary?
I can't here see it, but
Water
it's
rate study.
In July 2022?
correct.
Okay, thank you. So this is a brief summary, then I will read it for the record, because it does give a very brief outline of kind of what's been going on for the last 3 months, basically. So to begin, in July 2022, the City of Yamhill authorized the Oregon Association of Water Utilities to review current water rates. The purpose of this study is to develop examples of financial strategies and rates that provide adequate revenue to meet the operation and maintenance costs, capital improvements, as well as review contingency funding, to determine and distribute costs among the various consumer types, and are relatively simple to understand and implement, being consistent with industry practices. In August of 2023, while still waiting for the completion of the study, the rates were increased 10% across the board for all users. In September of 2023, the study was completed and showed that the 10% increase would not allow for capital improvement projects. Capital improvement projects are to upgrade, maintain, and prolong the life of our water systems. It additionally showed that the base rates being charged for different meter sizes were disproportional. Basically, due to the several years of not increasing rates adequately to keep up with CPI, capital improvement projects, and not proactively preparing to maintain the city's water system, the amount being paid for water by the city users is not meeting the rising costs to produce the water that for the residents. And this is all just for the residents, by the way. In order to meet the need to fund the capital improvement project, the recommended base rate of $78.39 for 4,000 gallons for in-city users. Normal in-city meter size is 3/4 or 5/8 inch pipes. Currently, the base rate is $73.28 $73.28 for 4,000 gallons. So a difference of $5.11. Additionally, it will enact a three-tiered system based on consumption over that initial base rate that would increase in the cost at each tier. The more you use over the 4,000 gallon base rate, the more it costs. The base rate study also established new rate systems for commercial and outside of the city limit users. Larger meters have a larger gap in what they have historically been charged and what the new rates would call for. The new rates for larger meters would see a much larger increase to their base rates to be equal. Additionally, water consumption outside districts would put them in the higher tier cost over the base allotment quicker. The council was presented with another single tier option from OAWU that extended the starting timeline for the capital improvement project from a couple of months to approximately a year. It still uses the base rates that was presented with the original water rate study. However, it gives a single tier rate for usage at 1,000 gallons over the initial base rate that includes the first 4,000. It would be a flat rate of $9.50 for each 1,000 gallons after the base rate, no matter how much water you use. That's a brief summary of what we've been, and very brief. It does not include all of the conversations, but it includes a lot of the details and barriers that we've been coming up across. So with that information, let's talk about our pros. What are the things that our water rate study has suggested that is helpful to us?
Just a study or increasing the rate?
That's basically what it's about.
Well, we can do our capital improvement projects, which are badly needed.
Correct. And the capital improvement projects, the cost of that is 300,000?
258, wasn't it?
358?
347.
347. 347 per year. Is that
That's just for this year.
for this year? Okay. 220. What is another pro?
Well, it's the study let us know kind of where we stand on where rates need to be, how things need to be moving forward. But it did expose, honestly, some more questions.
Well, I think the dilemma for everybody, and I'm sure Brian will back me up on this, is that the water rate study came after the rates were increased. So all of the numbers in it were off because they didn't have the current to-date numbers because we changed them on. And so they wouldn't have had that information for it. So that then created a dilemma with the public because they weren't understanding the difference in numbers. I know you have comments, if you feel it.
Well, Brian, I have a question. So you had questions or doubts or whatever. Were any of those resolved, or did you get any answers to your concerns you presented the other night?
No, you're still, what are you gonna do when you run out of SDC money to pay that $158,000? You've got 3 years left. Then you've got to come up with that $158,000 from somewhere else.
Yeah, but on top of that, we paid that additional money should have never came out.
Yeah.
So we won't trend that way. It just, during the budget, we wrote away $300,000 in our SDC money. That shouldn't have happened.
And then you're gonna have no money for SDC, for any projects that you can use that money for.
That's your shortfall.
Does that get applied to the loan? And that's been paid, so there's no getting it back. Was that something that Ross did as part of the budget?
So what are you thinking, Brian? You're thinking something. I'm like, I bet I can smell it.
The first thing you gotta realize is that you've gotta pay that debt service. And you've gotta have $274,272 in that debt service line every year. Because you have to have a $58,000 reserve in there. The study that Tim gave at last week's meeting does not include that $58,000 reserve that's required for the loan, if I remember right. I knew there was a reserve in there that you had to have every year. So if you just take that 272 and divide it equally among all the users inside, outside, and the number I came up with was 774 users. Just to pay your debt service, you need $29.54 a month just for debt service per user.
That doesn't include CIP?
That includes no CIP, no operations costs, no nothing. That is just strictly debt service. That's what you need from each user,
You said 29
$29.54.
over and above the 78 or the 73.
Mhm.
73.
So I looked at some other water districts' rates around the state. They're averaging between 75 to 85, somewhere in there, with no debt service. If you add our debt service on top of kind of that rate, you're up there to about $105, $107.
107.93.
I came up with $107.90. If you, to meet debt service, to balance the budget as proposed for this year, to meet the needs, you would have to be $107.90 per user at 4,000 gallons of water.
As a base rate.
Base rate, so I kind of played around with base rate. I figured the base rate at 40% of your operating, your budgeted cost. So that would put your base rate at 42.36. And then your water at 4,000 gallons is a 60% number. That would make your water for 4,000 gallons $36. Your water cost would be 0.009 per gallon, or $9 a thousand,
What is it now?
$4.71.
That's in town, correct?
So how did you get from 107.90 to the 42? What does that not include? 42 covers.
The 42.36 is a percentage of that operating, your budgeted amount, that $980,000 that's in the budget for this
Just
year.
operation.
Operations, maintenance, there'd be operations, maintenance, and capital.
And CIP.
Yeah. That would be the base per meter,
And then the 29.54 is
debt service.
debt service.
$236 would be for 4,000 gallons of water.
There's an additional 36 for 4,000.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to be equal across the board and meet your debt service, meet your current budgeted number, that's where you'd have to be, somewhere in that ballpark.
$107.
if you wanted to reduce that number, now that number is gonna fluctuate a little bit, or you would receive a little bit more, because if you have people that go over the 4,000, you're going to have a little increase in your revenue.
And as the tier, you're talking about maintaining the tier system?
I'd be 4,000 across the board. We've talked about, conservation and looking at other rates around the state. Anything over 4,000 gallons a month, I'd probably recommend going to 1.5 cents per gallon, or that would add another $1.50. That would be like a conservation measure that you could put in to kind of get people to, it's kind of like your PTE, but once you hit over a certain amount, they call it, you go into the high rent district. The way for them to try and get you to conserve.
Motivation.
Good question. If you're 107,
We can't, sorry.
I'm on the water advisory board.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If the 107 meets the budget number and the debt service, what happens, what's the funds for the extra? Because you're gonna have a lot of money out there that's gonna come in that you're not accounting for. Because how many people use over 4,000 gallons? I know out in the districts do, so. What's that fund, what are those funds gonna be used for if you've already taken care of your budgeted number with your $170?
Yeah.
I would put them into your CIP list and start building that back up, because we've depleted SDCs by 300,000. We need to start building so that we can look at, tie lines or future items.
Do we know how many people are over 4,000 on a regular basis and how much they use?
I think the average was, what, 5,700? That was the number that came out somewhere, I think. 5,700 if you averaged it out.
5,700
Gallons a month.
over the 4,000.
No, total. So it'd be 1,700.
Okay.
So you'd be 1,700 over the 4. But you have people that use less than 4,000 gallons.
And they still pay the full
And
107.
you pay the little 7. So now you could reduce it to, if you wanted to start that lower tier at 2,000 gallons, and then you would drop a little bit, but not much. The only way you're gonna be able to cut the rate down very much is you either gotta cut out some CIP projects, cut out maintenance, or cut out personnel.
We're short on all that already.
That's the only way you're gonna lower that number to any amount. But then if we didn't have the debt service in there, you would be right around the $75 to $80 a month mark.
Are there any other alternatives to put that back together that anybody can think of?
The debt service,
The payment we made on the loan?
You'll never
get that.
no, it's gone.
See, if you had a financial person in the office, they should be able to run the numbers and see what your income would be with the suggested rates that you're doing. And that's what you're lacking, is
Absolutely.
what is your, taking your actual usage every month and using those projected numbers and see what it does to your income.
So last year, for the water fund, they took in just shy of $580,000. So,
So one of my concerns in increasing it almost $30 a month is those who are low income, who are social security income only, or other low income services. Because asking them to pay the higher rates for 4,000, when typically they don't use a full 4,000. Providing an opportunity for them to apply to the city for a lower tier with the approval of council.
I think that's a great idea.
But they have to submit income documents and application and then apply. And then we can approve them to move to a lower tier, 2,000, whatever you guys think. Based upon income, household income and household size. That would give, that would give me a little more justification for raising it this competitively month. If we somehow were able to protect those who can't do this, who absolutely would create a bigger hardship for them.
just to kind of give you some thoughts, Kim gave me the numbers for last year. Based on the user fees last year, just equally divided by everybody, your average bill would be $77.94.
With the increase?
That's
You said last year.
last year, that was user fee
77,
94. If you average it across everybody,
Does that include commercial?
that's everybody, that's
So that
everybody.
includes the high school and our. I almost feel like you kind of got to pull out some of the giant users to make the to establish the baseline for.
Where you would get those is gonna be on their usage. If you put in that raised, anything over 4,000 gallons to a little higher tier, the average out there kind of statewide is about a penny and a half per gallon. You look at, when we look at MAC, when we look at Hillsborough,
For commercial?
for everybody, for water, per gallon of water, it was about a penny and a half to 1.75. I think Ray Jason, somewhere in that ballpark. And that's where you're gonna have to get to eventually. So if you did 4,000, if the,
so you're saying do a flat at 4,000, a flat rate for everybody across the board, everybody, at 77.94? Is that what you just said?
no,
That was last year.
that's last
Oh,
year, that's
okay.
what you took in user fees last year.
Okay, and you're suggesting the 107.90 across the board?
But your $77.94 doesn't include all of your debt service money. You'd have to add another $17 to cover what you took out of it.
I would said 29 for debt service.
But a portion already comes out of your current water rates. So out of the $77.94, about $12 came out for debt service.
So the 77.94 plus
Another 17.
17 for debt. Well, I like that better than 107.
But that doesn't meet all your needs for your CIP and your budgeted stuff. I mean, you could, because you'll have some users that go over, but you're gonna be,
The overusers would be helping to fund the underusers who hopefully will get lowered to a lower rate. So they won't be paying as much, obviously.
So, yeah, if you lower some down to 2,000, then you've got to balance the book somewhere down the line to,
Which would come out of the overusers.
if you used, it went to like 1.5 cents, anything over 4,000. That's where your big users like the school, commercials that use, that's where they're gonna pick up. The districts, what I'd recommend to be fair across the board, is I think we need to get to a fair playing field, especially if we wanna go for grants and do stuff. If you did build everybody the 2954 for debt, build everybody 4236 per user. So if you had 30 users on a water district,
We just have to be real
What
careful.
was the second amount for, I'm sorry, I'm tracking, but 2954,
For debt.
49 to 36.
What's that?
49.
We can't dictate.
4236.
42.
No.
You know,
Okay.
Because we have to build them more.
exactly. But we get into that.
So get into.
Well, no,
overuser.
what we'd do is their rate would be, you would figure their monthly meter fee cover that 40% operations. At 4236, so if they had 30 users, their base rate's $1,270. But they get, and then
For 30 users.
for 30 users.
So you do 6.
So you just divide that by the,
But you what happened to the $107?
well, that doesn't include the water. I mean, that, if you add the water in there, then you're 107.90. But then what's really killing you is that total debt service, almost $30 a month per user just to cover that. If you didn't have that on there, you'd be back down to about the $75, $80 a month. Right,
Is that just to make up 1 year's payment?
1 year's payment.
So the following year, it wouldn't be necessary, correct?
You gotta have that debt service for the next 16 years.
Oh, so they just allocated monies that probably should have been allocated to it for 1 year.
They've been doing that ever since they took the loan out.
It was allocated to it for 2 years, but then we did an additional 2. See what I'm saying, Jay?
Yeah.
So there's been $6,000 come out of SDC. Paid to, because we paid 2 years, then we did another 2 years. So there's a total of 6,000, but all in that. Over 600,000 out of SDC that come out. Which should have went to the CIP projects and.
Why do the outside districts use such a large amount more per user than within the city? Do you know that?
What was the question? What was?
Why do the districts use so much more per user than residents?
Because most everybody has an animal.
The district and commercial together use as much water because 90% of the in-city single-family residents. So
If not more.
they're mostly paying for the water.
They are the bulk payers, that's correct. But they're using more of it as well.
So they got charged for it.
And at no point in time does the city want to restrict water to the district.
Right, yeah.
So if you're going off Kathy's, so like for January 30 users, 4,000 gallons, that'd be 120,000.
You have 33.
30, so 33 would give you, you're only about 6,000 gallons over the 120 in January. You get down to July and August, and you're at almost 800,000 gallons.
So what is our current base rate after the 10% increase? Is that the 78?
I think that was a 78.39.
Prior.
We were 66. So base rate is 73.28 right now. That's what my bill was.
Okay.
So Brian, when you were giving figures, I'm sorry, I didn't copy that. 29.54, 42.36 is their third.
For 4,000 gallons of water, it'd be $36.
And is that for the water, or is that just a meter fee?
The meter fee would be included in that base, that 42.36. That would be your base. Basically, you're taking your budgeted number, that 985,000, whatever we got budgeted, and taking 40% of that number divided by the number of users, that came out to 42.36. I mean, we could get in and fine tune a little bit more, you wanted to have a different rate for commercial meters, and I think it'd be easier just even across the board. And then those higher water users, once you go over that 4,000, use your conservative, bump that water rate up to $1.50 or $1.50 a gallon.
And that's after the 4,000 that you said?
Yeah.
Okay. What about bulk water users?
So like, you have people come in and get,
No, bulk water is commercial districts, people who just come and pick up water and take it to their farms.
you could set it,
That's all bulk.
We no longer sell bulk water.
But isn't that all bulk water? After anything the residents aren't using is considered bulk water? No, surplus water.
Surplus water, and that's what goes to the districts.
Okay.
But the commercial in town's not surplus water.
No, it's not.
your big users in town is gonna be the school when they're watering their fields.
Now, is the school district considered commercial because they aren't zoned commercial?
It's right away our rates.
The current rates are,
Okay, according to the rate, but not according to
And then another question for you, would be,
use.
how many commercial accounts are there really in the outside districts? Because I think everybody's just getting, everybody's contract that I looked at, it says that it's for residential connections. And then on the previous page, it says, this is page 3 of everybody's most everybody's water contract. But it goes in, it says for domestic use and residential, identified as EDUs. But Will McKenzie's hooked up to that. Right. But they don't get billed an additional rate, do they, through the water district?
No. They pay the same amount per gallon of water as everybody else does in our district.
Or are they in your district?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because they shouldn't be connected. I mean, just saying, it's that you can't.
I'm gonna tell you, when they put that system in, they were happy to have them,
Well, that,
you know, and that was approved with the city at the time that they did that. So most of it gets used up at the house and they use it for processing. Right now they have a bunch of leaks going on, which they're, I mean, I don't know, today they're working on them, but anyway, that's the problem with the district contracts that you're sitting there looking at. We got shut down our throat in '85. Because before that, there was no contract that made statement of domestic water use.
oh, they signed their contract before that with you guys?
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of choice but to sign that contract.
And honestly, Kathy, I just happened to have your contract in front of me, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I don't
And
know where the
that's-
lines run and who does what.
Yeah, in the '60s, when they put the original lines in, most of those lines were ran out to town for the people that had livestock in the houses. There was not a domestic water statement in those contracts.
Well, it just seems to me, I mean, when we're looking at the necessity of having to go up to 107.90 for everybody in order to keep our system functioning, that the people that got scraped in the 60s that haven't had to pay extra for commercial use or what have you. I mean, and I know that you said you were kind of forced to sign it because what are you going to do without it?
Exactly.
But it says right in here that you can't have it. It seems to me there should be an additional charge for a thing that's added on, right? I mean, a commercial account.
Well, it can be in a commercial account,
It's a commercial account, and
but
so,
it's not designated as so.
right. But
And they walked in here and got a permit before they ever came to the district. Because we couldn't add people on just because we had to come down here and pay, because we came on at the same time that they did it, and we paid the city a fee to hook up, to add it to the users to East Jam Hill. So,
I mean, I'm not trying to say let's bust somebody for something. What I'm saying
it's the same thing with the Yamhill County mushroom, because that line got ran down Miley Hill Road for Yamhill County mushroom. No other reason.
So do they pay,
I have no idea, it's the district.
It's in the district, so
In the
they're,
district, same thing.
they're just gonna pay whatever.
Yeah, you're just selling water to the district.
Right.
Yeah.
That's whatever they want.
Well, to a certain
Yeah,
extent.
to a certain extent,
I mean, we're not running more people than what we're supposed to have.
but they're basically paying for water.
So, I mean, again, if you went to a 4,000 gallon flat rate for everybody, including each user on the district, anything over that, you would go to that higher price tier. So if Willa Kinsey uses an extra 500,000 gallons over that 4,000 a month, they're gonna be paying 1.5 cents per gallon.
Can we pay more than that?
Well, whatever, but the city's cost to the district would be 1.5 for anything over that. Whatever the district's want to charge them is up to them.
Because we have to maintain our lines the same, we have capital improvements need to be done, same as the downloads.
But I mean, that would put in a kind of a conservation clause in there that we've talked about.
Almost seems like we want them to use as much as they can when we're in this boat.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's gonna, this is not a good place to be.
For any of them.
You're charging, you're doubling the price of water, so I would think.
so,
I don't know how, on some of the outside district people, but, you know, so. But that's, I think that you're not looking at the complete revenue package when you get done making those changes, because your over 4,000 gallons number that you're not, have that anywhere, that's not taking care of any of your budget items. That's on top of taking care of all your budget items and your debt service. So all that extra money that's coming in for the over 4,000 gallons is a bonus in your pocket, and it's gonna be huge.
well, I don't know if it's a bonus, you know, it's capital improvement project. It's actually doing the maintenance and the upgrade that need to be done.
That's where your $107 is due, right? That's what you just said, that would cover your budget?
That would cover.
Current
and then
year.
Debt
that's-
service.
So
Yeah,
that'd cover 347,000 projects.
So you've got everything built into that $107.
so the districts, do they divide up their commercial and resident usage?
You mean by it?
So we just charge the districts, and then the districts then bill,
We know
users.
everybody on our district the same,
They're all the same, so you don't.
except for those that use more water, pay a higher water.
You
That's how we do it.
You
I
don't
don't know about the rest of
differentiate
them.
between commercial use and domestic use.
No, we do not.
What do you get, what's your meter rate, your base meter rate?
Because we take what the meter charge is for the district and divide it by 33, and then we add on to that.
So currently, I think there's a, like, even there's a, we go,
Yeah. But there's no water included in that $800. I mean, we pay for every gallon that runs through the meter,
so
so.
you can divide it up to 33.
We have some people that are gonna be under that 4,000 gallon number on our district also, so.
You would have those that are under, and you would have those that are excessively over.
Yeah. A little bit of both there.
Mhm.
Some will be right on the money.
And when they get billed, do you believe that it's equally balanced currently?
It's about as good as it can be. I mean, we add on, I think we're adding $2.22 per 1,000 gallons right now to pay for our line repairs and stuff. And then we add a little bit on top of the meter charge also for our, we have insurance and everything. And everything is mostly volunteer work on ours. We don't have any paid personnel. But, so we divide the base, everybody pays that base, but those that use more water are paying a lot more for that. So I don't know how to make it, if you made it more complicated, you would say, well, Kenzie's probably should have a bigger base rate than Joe Go down the street that just has his house, but it's pretty hard on a water district to go through and make those stipulations, I guess, and
It would be hard for you, I mean, because basically.
Yeah.
It's just selling water to the district and
Yeah.
they do whatever they want.
So if you just did the debt and base at 4236, you'd be looking at 7190 per outside user, and then whatever.
Oh, I see what you're saying, not do the 4,000 gallon
And then you pay whatever.
for the water on top.
And I mean, if you left that at, the 4,000 per user, so you got 120,000 gallons a month at the 0.009. Anything over that went to the 1.5 per gallon.
Yeah, well, it seems like it would be more fair to the districts to pay whatever the city's paying and get the 4,000 gallons out of that number, because that first 4,000 is cheaper than the next.
And
The city residents contribute in property taxes towards the maintenance of water as well.
No,
Where
No,
property taxes do not go for any water or
it
sewer.
goes to the city, which
But
then supports it.
But it does, none of that tax dollars goes into the budget for water and sewer. It's strictly for admin and, parks and streets and sidewalks. You look back in the budget, and none of that property tax money has ever gone into the sewer and water.
Okay.
The other thing you gotta look at, and I heard
Which is
this,
why water money has to go into the admin to cover the cost of people processing.
that, so water is paying for city staff,
It would need to.
unless you hire somebody just to run the water and sewer and take that out of city staff, but then you're gonna be short money to pay the city staff.
Okay.
The other thing I've heard you gotta look at, where we've been paying that 158,000 out of SDCs, none of the districts are paying that money, that's all coming out of new homes in the city.
That came out of the FDC funds, but normally we're paying for the debt service.
You're paying $12.
So are you proposing the districts just pay the operations, maintenance, and CIP along with debt service, but not the base 36 for 4,000 gallons? Because they're gonna pay per gallon anyway?
You could do that, just the debt service, the base rate, and then if you wanted to give them, you know, however many users, that 4,000 at that lower rate, and then anything over the 4,000 per user would go to a higher rate. And
Why would, why would you give the outside districts a better deal than the city? Because I can see an issue with that.
Oh, absolutely.
I can see the feedback not being good.
well, what you would do, you're not giving them a better deal, is you're paying for every gallon of water you get.
So then we're paying more money than everybody else. Because if we're gonna pay $11.50 per thousand instead of the first floor at $9.50, it'd be better for us to pay the 4,000 gallon minimum and pay that fee on top.
You could, I mean, you could.
Because otherwise we're gonna pay another $2 per thousand, where, and I'm just looking at, we have small people on our water line, and we have old people that,
And you get charged for the meter usage,
Yeah.
meter as well, correct?
yeah, but that would end the meter charge, right? 107 times 33 would be basically our meter charge.
Well, your 4236 times 33 would be your meter charge.
Okay, so then you're not there.
Plus your debt service, because you've gotta put debt service at the top.
Yeah.
You gotta pay that, so
Why wouldn't it just be $107 times 33 with 4,000 gallons at 33 for our base rate?
you can do that too.
I mean, that would be fair to me. I mean, not liking the price, but I'm just saying, if you're gonna have all the city people mad because we're getting a better rate, I don't wanna deal with that.
Yeah,
No.
I agree, I think the 107.90,
If that's what you gotta do to make it fair, because otherwise, we're basically picking it apart. And I don't know if that's a great way to be. It's gonna cause further friction between the
So
cities.
Kathy, say that again, what you just proposed.
If the base rate for the city is gonna be 107 for 4,000 gallons of usage, the district should be 107 times however many people they have on their district, and they get 4,000 gallons per
Times users or people?
users. So what our contract says, but Kim has us down for having for hookups. Which I think every district has their hookups used. So I don't-
so that would give them 132,000 gallons of water a month
As a base.
as a base for their.
Then each district's gonna figure out how to have to deal with that. I mean, it's a billing issue.
And then anything over that would go up to the 1.5 cents per gallon, city and outside.
And is that on the tier rate, or is that just?
That would just be any
flat?
flat, anything over 4,000
Yeah.
is 1.5 per gallon, so you're $15.
1.5 cents per gallon.
Which is 11.50 per thousand, right? 1.5. I think we were talking 15 per thousand, wasn't it?
1.5.
Good. Be $15 per thousand.
Because nothing in his paperwork was $15 per thousand.
He was at 950 on the lower end,
He was 11.50 on some of the tier structure.
but he was his numbers are not right here because he's $57,000 off on debt and was,
So you're charging $6.22 per thousand right now, so the city's gonna see a minute increase compared to the districts, because we're more than doubling, and now we've gotta add on to that $15 to cover our costs. So,
That's over the,
I thought you were 1150. I didn't realize you're at 50.
that's over the 4,000.
Yeah, I know.
That would be the same for the city. Once you went over the 4,000 limit in the city, you would be paying the 15 per thousand.
Everybody in the district would be able to.
Not everybody, but
Well, not everybody, but
quite a few.
you, the districts and
Right.
commercial uses so much water. Basically, it's on water, forget about the bus rate.
Thank you. Jason, Ethan's your input, what are your thoughts on?
I think you guys have been pretty well equipped to make a good decision, or have much more thoughts outside of this.
Oh, I know you do. We've received lots of information, but we haven't really heard what you would like to see happen for.
No, I think you guys are on the right track, if you guys are capable of making this decision with all the information you guys have.
You don't have a recommendation.
I don't have a recommendation, honestly.
It's a hard spot to be in.
We're not doing comments yet.
Did this start at?
I thought it was.
We had a work session till
We're in work
7.
session.
Oh, okay,
We
okay.
haven't closed our work
That's
session.
what I thought I read, but.
You're good. All right. Counselor Askey, online, can you give us your thoughts? Recommendations?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can.
I don't, I feel like we're still kind of hammering out the detail, like kind of personalized to Yamhill details for this. So, I mean, right now I couldn't tell you which way I'm personally leaning.
Okay.
I think you need to take these numbers back and have Kim or somebody put the numbers you're thinking about doing into last year's water usage and see where it gets you into your budget.
Because it seems like if you're charging, basically, we're charging double, we're proposing to charge double what we've been charging for water.
More than that.
It seems like a lot of money to also increase the base rate for the internet.
The longer we continue to put this off, though, the bigger the problem gets. And we would like to resolve the problem before it becomes out of control as an issue. An emergency situation. Counselor Corrigan, what are your thoughts?
Well, my initial thought is that we know it's gonna go for everybody. There's no other way. There's no person that can come in here and explain why the water bill is going down by 5 cents. That can't happen. At that said, I think it also, I don't know that they're wrong. I mean, if you look at somebody that's on a fixed income, inside or outside of the city, that jump to 107, that's gonna sting some people. And if there's a way that we can look at usage, historic usage, and see if we can bring that, I mean, down to 103 or down to 90, I mean, that's going to be a big difference to some people. And I don't know if that's possible to do that. To see what other people, what we've used in the past.
These numbers are going off usage that Tim put in this report, the 68 million gallons. I mean, you did 79 million produced, but you only collected on 68, so you have to figure your revenue on that 68 million, because you've got the water loss. This does not even include those bills that are not getting paid. So what percentage are you not collecting from unpaid bills? Is that 7%, 10%?
Well, everybody else should have to pay for the uncollected debt. Agreed.
Uncollected debt or loan debt?
uncollected debt, people that are not paying their bill, shut them off. That's simple. Amazing how you'll come up with money to cover when all of a sudden you have to. I know.
Okay, so we were talking about initially before this evening, proposing the 7839, which would be an additional increase of a little over $5, which sounded reasonable. However, with the debt service added, the 2954 each month of debt service, that's where we're having an issue.
So you're looking at $34 more.
We have to pay,
You got everything collected in the water, and
Yeah, see, that's right.
you don't understand why everything has to come out of the base.
It's not coming out of base rate.
the debt service is not coming out of base rate. The base rate is the operations, maintenance, CIP projects, and the 4,000 gallons.
I thought there was $29 for debt service. In that $107. Was it
In
$29?
107, there's the 2954.
$29.
That's debt service.
That's debt service.
So the debt service is coming out of that $107.
Yeah.
The 7839 is the ops, maintenance, CIP, and 4,000 gallons.
So if you took the debt service out, you'd be at 7,806, which is about the standard around the
Yeah.
state.
For 4,000 gallons.
Yeah, they do cubic feet, but
But I didn't,
Do you know what all entailed in the debt service?
I believe our water treatment plants, the transmission line. Honestly, those are the only two.
Okay. So the initial, when we built the water treatment plant, that one, do you know how long is still left on that?
I think we'll have a year, maybe two.
And the transmission line, that one's
That's
much
what's
longer.
projected out, yeah.
only 41 in the transmission.
Like you said, 2041?
Yeah.
So if we don't pay that full 2954 per month per resident, we can't take it out of the SECs any longer. So where would that come from? Potentially. If only, say we could only do $20 of the 29. And there's $9 that is not included in the.
I think you have to look at that tier structure. That'd be where you collect that.
Is the overusers.
But
It's a gamble, though.
it's a gamble.
It is a gamble.
How many users did you say total on all, everything, 707?
774 is what I get.
Kathy, will you do me a favor and come sit at the table with us as the water advisory committee member?
Well, it cuts down on the conversation.
Yeah, it makes it easier for
Thank
me
you.
to define.
Thank you.
Just like that, we're not on
Thank you,
camera, right?
Kathy. No, there's no camera. Yeah, we're good. So I'm having an issue with the 107. I would like to keep it under 100 if we possibly could. And I would like to propose that option for low-income users to apply for a lower tier rate.
Can I ask you, your water,
Please.
if they do get that lower tier rate, at what point do the overages kick in? Those individuals.
Do the overages, what do you?
That's the one that use more than
They exceed
2,000
their tier.
gallons.
It's the lower
If
income
they go
exceed
over
their
4,000?
tier. Is that what you mean?
They're 2,000.
Oh, they're 2,000, or whatever, if we designate 3,000, if we designate 1,000, it'll be up to us to figure out what that designation will be. And if they go over it, then they'll automatically bump up to the regular.
It's just really hard to say your budget, once all that starts calculated.
We can't set it anyway because we don't know how many overusers are gonna go over either. I mean, granted that we can consider that extra, but it really isn't, because we count on that as well.
But we have a projected number of 1.2 for capital improvements. That's what I'm saying, so if we start to waver, I mean, I'm all about giving people opportunity, I'm just saying, there has to be a set number.
No, I agree, a boundary, a limit.
Yeah.
So if you take your $107 per month and charge it times the 774 users per month, times that by 12, you get 993,816.
All right, did I say that again?
So 107 per month per user, 774 users, and times that by 12 months, you get 993,816. So my question
And we're
is,
getting 580,000.
that's just the base. So now you're gonna take all the additional users over 4,000 gallons, and then you're gonna have those funds. So that $15 per 1,000 gallon number is crazy, I think, because you're gonna, it's gonna hurt a lot of people besides the fact, but it's also gonna put you way over your numbers.
What did you come up with for 774 times that?
$107 per month per person.
I come up with 1,000,000.
107 times 774.
107.90.
Oh, well, I didn't do the 90.
I came up with 1,002,000.
Format, I didn't like that. 790 times 774 equals 83,514 a month, and then times that by 12, you get $1 million. $1 million, 2,000. So you're getting your budget number with just your base rate.
But you're not hitting your debt service number though.
Debt service is in $107.
Yeah, but you gotta have, a little over $1 million, so your operating is 983,685, then you have to add 274, 272.
Well, that's what I said, if you had the numbers in front of you, of how many people use over 4,000 gallons a month, you would be able to say what you need for that per 1,000 gallon number, because I don't think $15 is overkill.
You need almost 1.3 million total per year to do your debt service.
So we're 300,000 short,
And
basically.
that's where you're picking it up in that overage,
People use more.
people that use more.
Because there's a lot of people that use.
There's a lot of people that use more.
Can I just say something to clarify? So I was talking to Kim, and the 20%, or we take 20% out of all the water funds we receive month or daily. I take 20% away, and that all goes toward debt service. Last year, the debt service was paid off a couple months early, so it all went to water after that.
Because I know Kim mentioned that she's overrunning, she's over what projected is.
But the problem is, they're not counting that 158,000.
So that's not getting counted in there.
Oh, so that's the difference between the 2 years?
But
Okay.
you're still
I'm
looking
sorry.
at, oh,
That's where the,
Say that again, Andy.
What I was saying was that we take 20% out of everything we receive, and that goes toward debt service. And last year, the
Debt service.
was
budget
paid off, yeah, was
paid.
paid a couple months early, so it was all going toward water for the last couple months.
And then that.
But they're saying that didn't include the 158,
Exactly.
which is, okay.
So had it been received for those last few months,
Mhm.
that may not, the 158,000 out of SDCs may not have happened.
not the full amount.
Not the full amount, but of course.
Well, and if you're collecting extra.
We're in work session, Sherry.
Oh, okay.
If we're collecting extra, why aren't we looking at paying additional on that principal and paying that loan down faster and reducing our interest?
Wouldn't that be great?
If you could drop a couple years off that loan, drop that interest rate off.
That would help tremendously. All right, council, we've dug into this for over an hour. We've got lots of input. we've got several options. We know the numbers that we're working with. We don't like them, but we know them. Somebody mentioned, and it was probably you, Brian, that the average bill currently is $77.94 the base rate.
That's taking, yeah, that's taking what was collected last year.
And last year there was $17 included in debt,
That was not included in that
not
number.
included. But had we had, where'd you get the $17 in debt?
That's 158,000 divided by 774.
Oh, that we need to add to make up for that.
Yep.
Right.
You'd have to add
So
that.
does this 2954 debt?
That is the total between what is coming out of the water fund and SDC.
Okay.
So
Does
$12.
the 29 include the 17 that you were referring
Yes.
to? Okay. Right. I'm looking for answers here.
Well,
We've got it.
as a water user, I don't want increased rates, I don't want increased high, I just don't. But I also know because I work for a school district who is running on antiquated systems and dilapidated buildings, I understand that things are in disrepair in our town, and we have to be forward thinking, because that hasn't happened in the past. And things haven't been prioritized, and like Sherry said a couple meetings ago, I think it's, I don't want the Band-Aid ripped off either, but I think it's time. And let's write what's going on and start moving forward and making progress in our city. That's my feedback.
So we're talking about a $30 a month increase across the board.
3462, but we can't decrease that. I did figures, I'd like to see it be more like 90, only a decrease of 1672, but that's, you know, it's just a better figure for me, you know, that's just such a
So-
sharp increase.
The 90 figure though, I mean, here's the thing, it doesn't matter who you are, if you're the school district or if you're a mushroom farm with a high school. If you're at 107, you're gonna be less likely to water a football field. So your overages might go away. I mean, we just play on a brown field.
They won't play on it because it's too hard, it causes injuries, is what I've been told, because I've asked that question
They've
before.
got it, they have to water
They
it.
have to water it in order
They
to
understand.
be able to play on it.
Right, but the drought year, they brought it in from outside the tanks.
Yeah, well, the farmers did that. We can't do water on it.
Drill a well.
There's no, the drill a well statement is not an option.
You can't drill a well in town.
Well, you
So, thank you, I know, Sherry, good job. Let's wait, because I asked her to wait, because we're still in session.
Correct. Go ahead and continue, Shane.
I'm suffering from low blood sugar right now, like pretty bad. I actually have my wife come to bring some Skittles or something to get me boosted back up, but I'm starting to sort of tunnel vision a little bit here, so
Okay,
I
let's see what we
apologize.
have.
Here you go. There you go. Well, I don't feel well either.
Well, what do you want? You know, get Legos down? You're gonna Legos down, so. I don't know.
Harry,
Sugar, I don't think it goes.
Harry,
Try that.
go for it. Diabetic as well, and that works for me. Okay. I'll give you a minute, okay? You're on deck.
I already said my speech.
So what
It
are you
would be,
proposing?
well, it would be more palatable for me to have the cost be $90, but that is not meeting the needs of our city. And so it doesn't make sense to me then. Because it's time to do things right. So if we need to meet the needs of our city, it needs to be $107.90 and flat rate of $4,000 for all users.
are willing to help, you know,
Okay, so that's your proposal. Counselor Askey? Are you all right, should we go through it?
Yep. I mean, I understand what Kate's saying. I'm not gonna argue against that. I'm trying to, with all the different options and stuff, imagine like who, out of all the options, like who will this one affect the most? Like that, I'm just trying to run everything through my head right now.
No, I hear that. So, Counselor Chari was proposing the 107.90
Yes,
as the base rate, including the 4,000 gallons,
yes.
and ripping the Band-Aid off and taking that painful move.
Hmm.
Are you supportive of that theory, of that proposal?
I mean, yeah, I'm supportive of doing what the city needs to meet that, to meet the needs of the city. So yes,
Do you have any other options or ideas?
that I haven't mentioned yet.
Yes.
No, unfortunately.
Thank you. Counselor Corrigan, do you need us to take a break?
I don't need you to take a break, but I can't participate right now, honestly.
No, that's fine. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
And we're gonna take a break for 10 minutes, at 5 minutes. are we ready to go to?
Now that my brain's working somewhat better.
For those online, we're back in work session only.
When Lafayette got in all their trouble for jacking up the rates and everybody lost their mind, what was the percentage of increase they went up? Pretty similar to what we're talking about, isn't it?
It was like 30% increase. What is ours?
And we're going from 78 to 107.
78 to 108, basically. 190.
What's your billing, what in town do you bill per thousand gallons right now?
It's 73.
No, I mean, what's the per thousand gallon rate when they go over 4,000 gallons?
I think it's 5 something.
Actually, yeah, that's not if I can find it.
Jason, what's the rate when we go?
5.6, 5.66.
Base rate?
Per thousand gallons? I don't have that sheet in front of me. Should be on that sheet right there.
5.66.
So at $15 per thousand, you're tripling. And that's where I think, I don't have a problem with the $107 deal, but the $15 per thousand number I have, but that's a killer. I think you're going too high. When your 107 almost takes care of your budget. Your overages is going to pick up that other $300,000 and.
So you're saying don't do the 1.5, just stay with the 5.66?
No.
Okay.
I thought we were, when I was talking, I thought it was at 1150 per thousand number, which is in, what's his name, the report, yes, in Tice's report, was one of the top tiers, was 1150. And he wasn't going up to $107. I mean,
No,
you know,
keeping it at
it was even less, so you're adding a lot over what that water rate study says, which I realize there's missing numbers.
So
in
it's,
that part.
so the cost is more across the board rather than just on the high users.
Well, I think that you're taking that $5 and something and you're gonna triple that number. Ours is $6.22 per thousand, what we pay for the water district base. So we're already paying more per thousand with that thought process. And then when you go to $15 per thousand, you're doubling ours and you're tripling it down. Per thousand, over your base rate, when you've already got, your base rate's bringing in about $1 million something already, so now you're gonna, all your overages is going to be on top of that number. And without having a number spit out that says this is how much everybody used for 4,000 gallons last year or whatever, you can't, you don't have no way to budget or no way to know what that number is going to be.
So are you saying that the tier increases should remain the same? Or should they be considered?
No, I'm saying go with one rate over 4,000 gallons, but I think $15 is too high.
1.5 cents a gallon.
Yeah.
But right now it's,
I don't know,
yeah,
0.005.
yeah,
And we're
literally like a penny a gallon. I mean, Jason, you're the one, these are your numbers, so.
under Kim's
How
number.
much does
Oh,
it cost to
good.
produce water per gallon?
1.5 cents,
Well,
1.7.
Oh,
I know.
And that's the standard, if you look at MAC, you look at Hillsborough, that's the numbers we would be looking at if we tied in with either one of those today. It would be between 1.5 and 1.75 per gallon.
that's what they charge us.
That's what they would charge us if we tied in today.
$15 or $17 per thousand.
What's 1.7
$17.
times 4,000?
4,000. 68.
$15. So we're only charging $36 for 4,000, and it's costing us $68 to produce it.
But you're taking some of that out of your base fee, 40% of that 1.7 is coming out of your base fee.
Out of the operations, maintenance,
Yeah.
CIP, and debt service.
Yeah. You're taking about, not quite a 0.5%.
Actually, 10. All right, so the 7836 is the 68 cost, minus the 68 cost to make the water. There's 10 for CIP. Because the 7836 includes operations and maintenance and the cost of the water itself. Okay, that's reasonable. We're not underpaying ourselves for the water. All right, are we ready to close work session, or is there any other comments? JC, anything you want to? Okay. No comment? Are you okay, Shane?
Yeah, I'm feeling part of that, thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we're going to close council work session and go into regular session.